Billionaire pretends to be poor to test her in-laws, but what they did will make you cry. Savannah Pierce could have worn Chanel to her wedding, flown to Paris for the honeymoon, and lived in a Manhattan penthouse within a week. But instead, she stood in a modest courthouse, dressed in a second-hand floral dress and a pair of scuffed sneakers, holding hands with a man whose suit looked like it had seen better years, and she was radiant. "Do you take this man, Ethan Miller, to be your lawfully wedded husband?" the judge asked. "I do," she whispered, and meant it. Ethan smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I still can't believe you said yes to a guy like me." "You have no idea," she murmured, her heart thudding with more than just love. Savannah Pierce was the only child of Robert Pierce, founder of one of the biggest tech empires in the world. Her face had graced the covers of Forbes and Tech Weekly, always beside headlines about AI, stocks, or mergers. But she had vanished from the media a year ago. What the world didn't know was that she'd grown tired of boardrooms, fake friends, and people who loved her money more than her. Ethan, a graphic designer she met at a charity soup kitchen, had never Googled her. He thought she was a part-time waitress and nursing student. She liked it that way. Now, she was riding with him in a rattling pickup truck to his small hometown of Millersville, population 6,000. "I told Mom you're coming from a humble background," Ethan said, nervously adjusting the rearview mirror. "She's traditional." Savannah smiled. "I can handle myself." He shot her a look. "Save, she's tough. If you ever feel like walking away, I wouldn't blame you." She reached over and squeezed his hand. "Ethan, this is exactly what I signed up for." The Miller house looked like something out of a 70s sitcom, vinyl siding, chipped paint, and a lawn dotted with rusted lawn chairs. Lorna Miller was waiting on the porch. Steel gray hair, apron tied like a badge, and lips pursed tight. "So, this is the girl," she said. Savannah extended a hand. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Miller." Lorna eyed her hand like it was holding poison. "Call me Lorna." Inside, Wade sat on the couch watching sports. He didn't get up. "This her? Looks skinny. Can she even cook?" Maggie, the youngest sibling, peeked out from the kitchen. "Hi," she said shyly. Savannah smiled. At least one friendly face. "Where are you staying?" Lorna asked. "Couch is fine," Savannah said quickly. "Or the attic?" "You're married now," Lorna said. "Share Ethan's old room." "But I don't want no funny business at night. This house ain't no honeymoon suite." That night, Savannah unpacked her single duffel bag. She brought no makeup, no jewelry, and no electronics. Just a journal and a photograph of her late mother. "I want to thank you again," Ethan whispered as they lay side by side on the twin mattress. "For what?" "For loving me. For being brave. For coming here." Savannah kissed his cheek. "I just hope your family learns to love me too." He laughed softly. "With time. You'll see." But Savannah wasn't here just to be loved. She was here to see them. To know who they were when she had nothing. The next morning began with the clatter of pots and pans and the unmistakable smell of burnt toast. Savannah jolted awake to the sound of Lorna barking orders like a drill sergeant. "Wade! Take out the trash. Maggie, stop burnin' the bacon. Ethan, where is Ethan?" Savannah groggily sat up. "I'll help," she offered, tying her hair up as she stepped into the cramped kitchen. Lorna's eyes swept over her like a barcode scanner. "You ever cook a proper breakfast?" "I can try." "I didn't ask if you could try." Savannah reached for a spatula, only for Lorna to snatch it from her hand. "You know what? Just slice those potatoes. Thin. Like paper. No thick ones. I hate thick ones." Wade walked by and muttered under his breath, bet she's never even peeled a potato in her life." Savannah said nothing. But inside, the pressure began to build. This wasn't a kitchen, it was a minefield. An hour later, everyone sat at the table. Lorna took one bite of the eggs and sighed dramatically. "Too salty." "I thought they were fine," Ethan said, earning a glare from his mother. Wade pushed his plate away. "Do we really need 4 people in this house who don't pay rent?" "I'm planning to get a job soon," Savannah said gently. Lorna scoffed. "Waitressing, right? You'll be lucky if you bring in more than gas money. Don't expect handouts here." "I'm not asking for anything," Savannah said, her tone calm but firm. "Good," Lorna replied. "We run on effort and contribution here, not dreams." Later that day, Savannah offered to clean up the backyard. She clipped hedges, swept leaves, even fixed a crooked bird feeder. But when Ethan returned from his freelance gig at the print shop, his mother pulled him aside. "She's playing house," Lorna whispered. "A few chores don't make a woman." "Mom, she's trying," Ethan said. "She's helping." "She's hiding something," Lorna snapped. "Too polished. Too careful." Ethan paused. "That's ridiculous." "She's pretending, Ethan. And you're too love-struck to see it." Savannah, who overheard from the hallway, quietly walked back to the room and closed the door behind her. She sat on the edge of the bed, pulled out her journal, and began to write. Day 2. Lorna's sharp. Not cruel, just bitter. Defensive. She doesn't trust love, and maybe that's not her fault. But Wade, he doesn't even try. Maggie might be the only one who sees me. Still, I won't break. Not yet. The following week was a test of invisible expectations. Savannah offered to do laundry, and Lorna criticized how she folded towels. She bought groceries with her own money, and Wade made a snide comment about rich taste on a poor budget when she picked up almond milk. Even Maggie, sweet, uncertain Maggie, seemed to keep her distance, as if unsure where Savannah fit. Only Ethan stood by her. "We could move out," he offered one night. "Get a small place." "I know it's tight, but..." Savannah shook her head. "I want to be here. With your family. I want to be part of this." He kissed her forehead. "Then we'll take it one day at a time." One morning, Lorna called a family meeting. The words alone sent a chill through the room. "We need rent from everyone," she said, arms folded. "This isn't a shelter. You live here, you contribute. That includes you, Savannah." "I understand," Savannah said calmly. "I've been looking for work." "Well, look harder," Wade said. "There's a diner down the block. They're always short-staffed." "I'll ask tomorrow," Savannah promised. "That's what I want to hear," Lorna said, but there was no warmth behind it. Later that night, Ethan wrapped his arms around her as they stood on the porch under a pale moon. "You okay?" "I'm fine," Savannah said. But she wasn't. Not entirely. Because deep inside her purse, hidden beneath a granola bar and a worn-out wallet, sat a black card made of titanium, a bank card with a credit limit that could pay off the Miller house 10 times over. She could fix their leaky roof, send Maggie to college, buy Wade his own apartment, and pay for Lorna's dental implants. But she wouldn't. Not yet. She wasn't here to give them money. She was here to see if they'd ever offer her love without it. The diner smelled like old grease and burnt hope. The walls were yellowed with age, and the jukebox only worked when you kicked it twice. Savannah stood at the counter, tying an apron around her waist. A woman in her 50s with bright red lipstick and a smoker's rasp handed her a tray of dishes. "You Savannah?" "Yes, ma'am. Name's Rita. You don't cry, quit, or come late. That's how you last here. Table 9's yours." Savannah gave a short nod. Got it. By the third day, her fingers ached. Her back hurt. She had burns from the coffee pot and grease stains on her only good jeans. But she smiled through every order, even when customers snapped their fingers like she was invisible. At home, no one asked how her day went. No one noticed the bruises on her hands or the bags under her eyes. Lorna only commented, "I hope you're not bringing home leftovers. I don't want secondhand diner junk in my fridge." Wade sneered. "She probably eats half of it herself." Savannah didn't respond. She went straight to the sink and started scrubbing the pans from dinner. Again. Maggie approached her one evening as Savannah folded laundry. "Hey. I saw you bring home a book of poetry last night. I didn't know you liked that kind of stuff." Savannah looked up, surprised, and smiled. "I love it," she said. "It's like music on paper." Maggie grinned shyly. "I like to write, but I never show anyone." Savannah's eyes lit up. "You should show me sometime." Just as Maggie started to nod, Lorna's voice cut through the air from the living room. "Maggie! Quit talking and help with the ironing." "And Savannah, that towel's folded like a napkin, not a rectangle." The moment was gone. 2 weeks passed. Every day, Savannah worked the morning shift at the diner, came home, cleaned the kitchen, then collapsed into bed beside Ethan, too exhausted to talk. He noticed. "You're running yourself dry," he said gently. "I don't want this for you." Savannah cupped his cheek. "I'm doing this for us." He looked at her, really looked at her, and for a moment she thought he might ask more. Might dig deeper. But then he smiled sadly and kissed her forehead. "I love you." "I love you too," she whispered. Then came the fire. It started in the backyard. Old wiring in the shed that Wade had been using as a makeshift gym. Smoke rose into the night sky like a signal flare. By the time the firefighters arrived, the flames had devoured the shed and singed the siding of the house. Ethan and Savannah had been at the grocery store. When they pulled into the driveway and saw the commotion, Ethan jumped out of the truck, heart racing. "Mom! Maggie! Wade! They're okay," a neighbor said. "Just some smoke." Lorna stood on the porch, wrapped in a firefighter's blanket, shaking. "It's all gone," she whispered. "My father's tools. The garden. Years of work." Savannah put an arm around her. To her surprise, Lorna didn't pull away. That night, Savannah made soup for everyone. No one spoke as they ate, the air heavy with smoke and shock. Wade sat silently, staring at his phone. Maggie's eyes were red, but she said nothing. "Thank you," Lorna said quietly, not looking up from her bowl. Savannah blinked, stunned. "Of course. It wasn't your fault," Lorna added. "You weren't even here." Savannah didn't know what to say. It was the first kindness Lorna had shown her. Maybe tragedy softened even the hardest edges. Later, as Savannah stepped out for fresh air, she found Maggie sitting on the porch swing, notebook in hand. She offered Savannah a small piece of folded paper. "It's one of my poems. Don't laugh." Savannah unfolded it carefully, reading the lines lit by porchlight. "Smoke takes what fire cannot. Ashes fall like feathers from a bird too tired to fly. But even when we lose everything, there's someone who stays behind, to help us rise again." Savannah looked at her with quiet admiration. "This is beautiful." Maggie blushed. "It's about tonight." "It's more than that," Savannah said. "It's about strength." Maggie gave her a hesitant smile. "You're stronger than you look, Savannah." Savannah blinked hard against tears. "So are you." Inside, Lorna watched from the window. She didn't say anything. But she saw the way her daughter leaned into Savannah. The way the girl who had married her son, who had scrubbed her floors and washed her dishes and worked till her hands cracked, had slowly, almost invisibly, started changing the shape of their home. She wasn't sure how she felt about that yet. But she was beginning to understand that maybe, just maybe, this girl wasn't here for a free ride. 2 days after the fire, Savannah took her lunch break behind the diner near the dumpster, where the autumn breeze carried the scent of wet leaves and city grime. She usually sat alone, but today, she wasn't truly alone. Her phone buzzed. Text from Trish Parker. FYA, your dad's asking again. You want me to keep him off your scent? Savannah sighed and typed back. Yes. Just one more week. Tell him I'm safe. And not coming back until I know the truth. Trish replied instantly. He's threatening to send someone. Says this is reckless. Savannah stared at the screen for a long time. Then typed slowly. Tell him this isn't his decision. That night, while the family slept, Savannah sat on the floor of the small guest room they now called the office, flipping through Maggie's poetry notebook. Every page broke her heart. Sad poems. Lonely ones. Dreams about getting out of Millersville. Wishes for someone to notice her. She glanced at the envelope in her backpack. Inside was a sealed letter of recommendation she had written, signed with the name of a prominent poetry editor who owed her a favor. Along with it, a prepaid application fee to a prestigious writing program in New York, and a one-way train ticket. Savannah slipped it all inside a plain manila envelope. She didn't sign her name. Only wrote. This world needs your words. Don't be afraid to give them. She placed it gently inside Maggie's worn tote bag and zipped it shut. The next day, Maggie ran out of her room, envelope in hand. Did you do this? Savannah blinked innocently. Do what? This letter, it says I've been nominated for a scholarship. Full tuition. Writing mentorships. Train fare included. Someone sent in my poems, who else would have done that? Savannah shrugged with a soft smile. Maybe someone who believes in you. Maggie threw her arms around her. No one's ever believed in me before. From the hallway, Wade watched silently, his brow furrowing. Not out of joy, but something colder. Suspicion. That night, Savannah was clearing dishes when Lorna pulled her aside. Did you have anything to do with Maggie's letter? Savannah hesitated. Why? She's walking around like she's already left this house behind. Like she's too good for us now. She's talented, Lorna. She deserves to be seen. Lorna stared at her, eyes narrowed. Girls like us don't get to dream like that. Savannah didn't respond. She just held Lorna's gaze. Calm. Steady. People like us, Lorna added, almost like a test, we work, we sweat, we survive. Yes, Savannah said quietly. And sometimes we rise too. Lorna stared a moment longer, then turned away. Just don't fill her head with nonsense she can't afford. The next day, Savannah came home from work to find the house silent. No Maggie. No Ethan. Just Lorna and Wade at the kitchen table. Lorna didn't look at her. Wade did. You think we're stupid, he said. Savannah blinked. Excuse me. You're not who you say you are. You don't talk like us. You don't live like us. You got secrets. Lorna shifted uncomfortably. Wade. She's been sneaking money into the house. I checked her bag. That envelope in Maggie's tote had a tracking slip. Came from New York. You know anyone else around here with connections in New York, Mom? 'Cause I don't. Savannah's chest tightened. You went through my things. You lied to us, Wade snapped. And I'm gonna find out why. Savannah looked at Lorna, waiting. But Lorna just stood up and left the room. That night, Ethan came home to find Savannah sitting on the porch, arms wrapped around her knees. "What happened?" he asked, sitting beside her. She hesitated, then said, "Your brother knows I'm hiding something." "Are you?" She didn't answer right away. "There are things I haven't told you. Things I needed to keep quiet for a while." He looked hurt. "Why?" "Because I needed to know if I was loved. Not for what I have, but for who I am." Ethan's face softened, but only slightly. "Savannah, I married you for you. Not your money, or your background. But, secrets? I don't do secrets." Tears threatened. "I'm not ready to tell you everything yet. But I promise. I will. Soon." He studied her for a long moment. "I'll wait," he finally said. "But not forever." She reached for his hand, but he didn't take it right away. That was the moment she felt it, the first crack between them. Inside, Wade stood by the window, arms crossed, watching them in silence. And in the back of the house, Maggie packed a small duffel bag, her heart pounding with equal parts fear and hope. Her train left at sunrise. And someone who had once been a stranger, had made her believe she could go. Ethan awoke to an empty bed. Savannah was already at work, and Maggie was gone, her room stripped to the bones. The notebook, her thrift store lamp, the photos tacked to the wall, all missing. On the pillow, she had left a note. "Thank you for believing in me. I don't know who you really are, Savannah, but I know you saved me. I'll write you from New York. Please don't tell Mom I left until I'm on the train. Love, Maggie." When Lorna found out, she screamed so loud it made the birds flee the wires. She ran away. "She left for school," Savannah said, standing her ground. "She took a chance. She's 18, with no money, no job. Who's going to take care of her?" "You." Savannah's voice was low. "She's chasing her dream, Lorna. Isn't that what any mother should want for her child? I wanted a daughter who respected her roots. Not one who runs off and leaves her family behind." "You don't want children," Savannah said carefully. "You want control." Lorna froze, the words hitting her like a slap. "You're not family," she whispered. "You're a fraud." Wade stepped into the kitchen behind her, arms folded. "Told you she was hiding something." When Ethan came home and saw the chaos, Savannah was sitting silently at the kitchen table. The room had gone cold. No one was speaking. Lorna's eyes were red. Wade looked smug. "Where's Maggie?" Ethan asked. "Gone," Wade said. "New York. Thanks to your wife." Ethan turned to Savannah. "Is that true? She's safe. She left on her own. I just helped her believe she could." Ethan sighed. "I knew something like this was coming. Wade told me you've been giving out money." "No," Savannah said. "Not money. A chance." "Why didn't you talk to me first?" "Because I knew you'd try to stop me." He looked like he'd been punched in the chest. "Why don't you trust me, Savannah?" "I do," she said. "But I needed to do this for Maggie. For me." That night, the air was thick with silence. Savannah and Ethan lay in bed back to back. Neither said a word. She wanted to explain everything, but the words stuck in her throat like splinters. Instead, she watched the ceiling until dawn. When she finally got up, Ethan was gone. The diner was slow that day. Rain streaked the windows and made the street outside look like a watercolor painting. Rita handed Savannah a short stack of dishes and muttered, "You okay, hon?" Savannah forced a smile. "Just tired." But Rita squinted at her. "No. You're more than tired. You're wearing a sadness that doesn't wash off." Savannah blinked. Then laughed softly. That obvious, huh? Pain don't hide well, Rita said, dragging on a cigarette just outside the back door. But it passes. Like a kidney stone, but it passes. Savannah laughed again, a little more genuinely. Thanks. You ever want to talk, you come sit back here. I won't charge a therapist's fee. When Savannah returned home, her bag was missing. Her side of the closet, empty. She froze. Looking for something? Wade stood in the hallway holding her duffel bag. What are you doing? Just speeding up the process. Lorna stood behind him. We think it's time you left. Savannah's hands clenched. This is Ethan's home too. He doesn't seem to be here, Lorna said. He'll come back. Will he? Wade asked. Because if I were him, I'd be wondering who the hell I really married. Savannah stepped forward. You're scared, Wade. You think I'll outshine you. You think you'll lose control. He sneered. I think you're a liar who walked into our lives with secrets and pity and messed everything up. Savannah met his gaze. No. I walked in with love. And I stayed even when you made me feel small. Because I believed in the good under this roof. She reached out and took her bag. But if you need me gone to feel like a man, fine. Then she turned to Lorna. I never wanted your money. Your respect, maybe. But I won't beg for it. She walked out of the house without another word. The rain poured as Savannah trudged toward the diner, her bag over her shoulder. She didn't know where else to go. She had nowhere, and yet she owned everything. A billionaire with no home. As she passed the church at the edge of town, she stopped. The doors were open, lights warm inside. Something pulled her in. Evening, said a voice from the front pew. It was Father Paul, a gentleman in his 60s with silver-rimmed glasses and an air of quiet wisdom. Need to sit? Savannah sank beside him. You don't look like someone who usually ends up here, he said kindly. I'm not. But today you are. Savannah wiped at her eyes. I've lost everything, by choice. Sometimes losing is the first step to being found. She looked at him. I lied to them. About what? Who I am. Father Paul tilted his head. And who is that? She took a long breath. Savannah Pierce. Daughter of Robert Pierce. Heiress to a billion-dollar empire. His eyes widened slightly. But he didn't flinch. And why did you lie? Because I wanted to know if love could be real. If people would treat me with kindness, if they didn't know what I was worth. Father Paul smiled gently. And did they? Some did. Some didn't. I don't know anymore. He placed a hand over hers. The ones who didn't, perhaps they never could. But the ones who did, they're the ones that matter. That night, Savannah stayed in a spare room behind the diner. Rita didn't ask questions. Just gave her an extra blanket and left a cup of warm tea on the nightstand. As she sat on the creaky cot, Savannah opened her journal and wrote. Day 26. I've lost my home, my husband, and the lie I built to protect myself. But I still have one thing left. Truth. And I think it's time to set it free. She closed the journal. Tomorrow, she would tell Ethan everything. The next morning, Savannah dressed in the same jeans she'd worn for 3 days. Her hair was tied back in a low bun, and her sneakers were soaked from last night's rain. Still, she walked with purpose, toward the one person she hadn't lost yet. Ethan. He was working a design booth at the Millersville Fall Market, a small-town event with food stalls, crafts, and a stage set up near the fountain. She spotted him across the crowd, placing custom logos on t-shirts under a blue canopy. Savannah walked up slowly. Ethan, she said softly. He looked up. Their eyes met, and for a second, time stopped. Then his expression hardened. "Hey. I need to talk to you," she said. He looked around. "Now. It can't wait." He stepped out from behind the booth. "Okay." They walked past the rows of tents and turned down a quiet alleyway between a coffee shop and the local post office. Savannah took a deep breath. "I lied to you," she said. "Not because I didn't love you. Because I loved you too much to risk losing something real." He folded his arms. "What are you saying?" "My name is Savannah Pierce. My father is Robert Pierce. I'm worth billions. I walked away from it to see if someone would love me without it." Ethan didn't speak. He just stared at her, stunned. She stepped closer. "You were real. You were kind. You never asked me for anything. That's why I fell for you. But I needed to know if the rest of your family. You tested us." His voice cracked. "I didn't mean it that way. I just. You let us think you were poor. You lived in that house, ate our food, watched my mom cry over rent, and you could have fixed it all with one check. I wasn't there to fix it. I was there to understand it. You used my sister. I helped her." He looked away, eyes wet. "And you broke my mother." "No," Savannah said, her voice rising. "Your mother broke herself. You just didn't want to see it." That landed hard. He stared at her, jaw clenched. "Go." "What?" "I need time, Savannah. Space." She blinked back tears. "Are you saying we're done?" "I'm saying. I don't know who I married." Back at the market, something unexpected happened. Wade stood on the stage, mic in hand. "Hey, Millersville. How about a little truth for entertainment today?" People looked up from their booths. Kids holding caramel apples paused. Couples turned to listen. Wade grinned. "Did you know the waitress from Lucky's Diner, you know, the one who married my brother, is actually a billionaire heiress pretending to be poor?" "Savannah Pierce." "Yep. That Pierce." Gasps rippled through the crowd. A few people looked toward Savannah, who had just returned to the festival grounds. "She scammed us all," Wade went on. "Moved into our house, played the part, acted like she belonged. And the whole time, she could have bought this whole damn town." The crowd murmured. Some laughed. Some gawked. Savannah stood frozen. Rita, standing behind the pie stand, muttered, "That little snake." People started whispering. "Did you know she was rich? She was in Forbes, I think. She played everyone." Ethan stepped out from the crowd just in time to hear Wade say. "And guess what? Even after all that, she still walked away like she was the victim. But we know the truth now, don't we?" Savannah turned and walked away. She didn't run. She didn't cry. But her face was stone. Back behind the church, Savannah knelt at the garden bench near the memorial plaque for the town's founder. Her hands trembled. Not from fear. From grief. Because she had hoped. Even now, she had hoped. Father Paul found her there, eyes glassy. "They know," she said. "I know," he replied. "I thought if I gave them my heart, it'd be enough. Sometimes people aren't ready for the truth, even when they ask for it." She wiped her cheek. "Do you regret it?" he asked. She paused. "No. I regret trusting the wrong people. But not why I did it." He nodded. "Then let them fall away. What matters will remain." That evening, Savannah returned to the Miller house for the last time. She didn't knock. Inside, Lorna was washing dishes. She turned around when Savannah entered, but didn't speak. Savannah took a slow breath. "I'm leaving town tomorrow. I just came to say goodbye. Lorna stared at her. You ruined everything. I told the truth. You lied first. I wanted a chance to be loved for who I was. Lorna stepped forward. You had no right to come into our lives like some experiment. Savannah held her gaze. Then why did Maggie believe in me? Lorna flinched. She believed in me, Savannah repeated, because someone needed to. And now, she's flying. Maybe you'll see that one day. She turned and walked out. Lorna didn't stop her. In the dark driveway, Savannah climbed into her car. For the first time in weeks, she didn't feel poor. She felt free. 2 days passed. The town was buzzing. News of Savannah's identity spread like wildfire through diners, barbershops, church groups, and Facebook threads. Everyone had an opinion. Most weren't kind. She fooled them all. She's a snake in designer boots. Should have known she was too pretty to be poor. Girls got backbone, though. I'll give her that. Back at the Miller house, the atmosphere was heavier than the summer humidity that now hung over Millersville. Ethan sat on the porch steps, running his fingers through his hair. Wade emerged from the house behind him. You okay, bro? Ethan didn't answer. You should be thanking me, Wade continued. She was using you. No, Ethan said quietly. You don't know her. She lied to you. So did you, Ethan said, standing up. But I didn't humiliate you in front of the whole town. Wade scoffed. You're welcome. Ethan's eyes were fierce now. If you ever use my pain as entertainment again, we're done. He walked away before Wade could reply. That evening, Lorna collapsed. It happened in the kitchen. One moment she was stirring soup, the next she was gripping the edge of the counter, breath ragged. Wade heard the thud from the living room. Mom. He rushed in, catching her before she hit the floor. Ethan returned minutes later to the flashing lights of an ambulance and the sound of Wade's voice cracking as he tried to stay calm. She said she was dizzy, Wade told the paramedic. Then she just dropped. Her pressure spiking, the medic said. Could be a stroke. They rushed her to the hospital. Savannah was staying at a small cottage on the edge of town, owned by Rita's cousin. She was reading a letter from Maggie, who was thriving in New York, when her phone rang. It was Ethan. She stared at the screen for a long second before answering. Hello. Savannah, his voice cracked. It's my mom. She collapsed. She sat upright. Is she? She's in the ICU. The doctors say it's serious. I'm coming, she said immediately. No. I didn't call to ask that. I just didn't want you to hear it from someone else. I'm coming anyway. He didn't stop her. When Savannah entered the hospital room, the tension was thick. Lorna lay unconscious, tubes and wires snaking from her arms. Wade sat stiffly in the corner, eyes red. Ethan stood at the window, silent. Savannah approached the bed and gently took Lorna's hand. She looked so small, she whispered. Wade stood up, bristling. You don't belong here. Ethan turned, voice low. Wade. Stop. You think she wants to see her when she wakes up? Savannah spoke calmly. I'm not here for forgiveness. I'm here for family. She's not your family. She's your mother, Ethan said suddenly, voice sharp. But she was my wife. And she loved her. Maybe not at first. Maybe not in the way Savannah deserved. But deep down, she respected her. Wade scoffed. She never said that. No, Ethan said. She never had to. He looked at Savannah, then back to Wade. You want to hate her, go ahead. But not today. Wade stormed out of the room. Hours passed. Savannah stayed by Lorna's bedside, silent. Just listening to the beeping machines and the low hum of the ventilator. She didn't speak, there was nothing to say. Only presence. Only quiet love. At dawn, Lorna stirred. Her eyes blinked open, slow and unfocused. "Ethan." "I'm here, Mom," he said, taking her other hand. Then her gaze shifted, to Savannah. Her mouth twitched. "You came," she rasped. "Of course," Savannah said. A weak breath escaped her lips. "Don't, leave Maggie alone." Savannah nodded, tears falling. "Never." Lorna's fingers curled around hers for just a second. It wasn't a full apology. But it was something. Later that morning, a nurse came in with a tray and nodded toward Savannah. "Visiting hours are over. Family only." Ethan stepped in quickly. "She is family." Savannah looked at him, heart beating fast. He met her eyes and didn't flinch. They didn't say anything. But something was healing. Slowly. Outside the hospital, Savannah stood beneath the gray sky. Ethan followed her out. "She asked about you," he said. When she was slipping in and out, she kept saying your name. "I never wanted to hurt her," Savannah said. "I know," he replied. "And deep down, I think she knew too." He took a breath. "There's something I need to say." She turned to him. "I've been mad. Hurt. Confused. But I never stopped loving you." She blinked. "I don't care if you're poor or rich," he continued. "But I do care that you kept something that big from me." "I was scared," she admitted. "Everyone in my life loved my bank account. I just wanted someone to love me." "I did," he said. "I do." She stepped closer. "Can we start over?" He smiled gently. "No." Her heart dropped. He reached for her hand. "But we can start from here." 2 weeks later, Lorna was recovering steadily. The hospital allowed her home with round-the-clock care and daily check-ins. Ethan handled her medications and doctor calls. Wade, though still distant, mowed the lawn and kept a quiet watch over her. Savannah didn't return to the house, but she wasn't gone either. She visited during the day. Helped Maggie set up her room remotely via FaceTime. Cooked enough soup to fill the freezer. Read quietly beside Lorna when she slept. The family had changed, in quiet ways. One morning, Lorna gestured for Savannah to come closer. "You're still here," she rasped. Savannah nodded. "I said I would be." Lorna took a slow breath. "You've got grit." Savannah smiled faintly. "I got it from being treated like I was worth nothing." Lorna gave her a side glance. "You know, back in my day, people earned respect the hard way." "I know," Savannah said. "That's why I didn't tell you who I was." Lorna exhaled. "And maybe that's why you earned it." That afternoon, Savannah drove out to the edge of town. To the old rec center. It had long been abandoned, roof caved in, graffiti scrawled across the bricks. Ethan had once mentioned his dream of turning it into an art hub for local kids, but the money had never been there. She stared at it for a long time. Then she made a call. 3 days later, Millersville buzzed with confusion as construction trucks rumbled through downtown. Then a gold sign was hoisted up in front of the newly painted rec center. The Miller Arts Collective, sponsored by the Pierce Foundation. Inside, everything had changed. There were freshly primed walls and rows of computers. A print shop. A gallery space. A poetry lounge named Maggie's Corner with her very first notebook framed on the wall. Savannah stood beside the mayor, giving a short speech. "I came to this town looking for something I'd lost, a reason to believe in people again. I found it. Here. In this family. In this community. And now I want to give something back. She smiled out at the crowd. This isn't a gift. This is a thank you. Wade stood in the back, arms crossed. Can you believe this? Someone muttered. All this time, she was Pierce's daughter. Wade watched Savannah finish her speech, then clapped once. Then again. And again. Others joined in. By the time she stepped down from the stage, a standing ovation echoed through the gallery. Later, Wade approached her, alone. I didn't like you, he said. I noticed, Savannah said evenly. I thought you were arrogant. Slumming it for entertainment. And now. He paused. Now. I think you might be the best thing that's ever happened to this mess of a family. She looked at him, surprised. I was wrong, he added. Loudly, and in public. She extended a hand. Then make it right. Loudly. And in public. He gave a crooked smile and shook her hand. Deal. That night, Ethan took her to the bridge where they had once shared their first kiss. The sun was setting, painting the sky in molten gold and soft lilac. He held her hand in both of his. You didn't just survive them, he said. You changed them. She shook her head. They changed themselves. I just gave them a reason. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, simple velvet box. Savannah gasped softly. You already married me once, he said. In a courthouse. In borrowed clothes. Under a lie. He opened the box. Inside was a ring, not flashy, but elegant. Rose gold, with a single opal. This time, I want to marry you in truth. Every truth. Yours and mine. She nodded, tears brimming. Yes. Back at the Miller house, Lorna sat at the window, sipping weak tea. She watched them outside in the yard, Savannah laughing, Ethan spinning her in slow circles. And for the first time in a long while, Lorna smiled. Not out of control. Not out of pride. But out of peace. 3 weeks later, the new Millers gathered in a different way than before. They were seated in the living room, same peeling wallpaper, same squeaky ceiling fan. But the air had changed. Wade was talking about helping manage the new youth program at the Miller Arts Collective. Lorna was knitting something for Maggie's birthday. Ethan was drawing sketches for a community mural. And Savannah, she was barefoot on the couch, eating ice cream from a coffee mug and laughing. No one questioned where the ice cream came from. Or who paid the electric bill. Or how the fridge had magically stopped leaking. They all knew. And none of it mattered anymore. That night, Lorna asked to speak with Savannah alone. They sat on the porch, wrapped in old quilts. You know, Lorna said, staring at the stars, I wasn't always like that. Harsh. Suspicious. Savannah nodded slowly. I figured there was a reason. When my husband died, we had nothing. I raised 3 kids with 2 jobs and constant fear. Fear we'd lose the house. That we'd go hungry. That I'd fail them. She paused. So I made myself hard. Because soft didn't pay bills. Savannah whispered, I understand. I didn't mean to take it out on you. But I saw you. Young. Kind. And I thought, it's not real. No one gives that freely unless they want something. And now? Savannah asked. Lorna turned to her, eyes glassy. Now I think you gave us everything, just to see if we'd give anything back. I did. Lorna reached into her sweater and pulled out a tiny velvet box. She opened it to reveal a delicate chain, silver, with a small charm shaped like a house. This belonged to my mother, she said. She gave it to me when I left for my first job. Told me, wherever you go, remember where you came from. Savannah blinked. Lorna gently placed the necklace in her hand. You're one of us now. Not because of Ethan. Or money. But because you stayed when it would have been easier to run. Savannah hugged her. Tight. Without words. The next day, Savannah received an email from Maggie. Subject, found my fire. Savannah, I read at my first open mic last night. I was terrified. But people clapped. Some even cried. One woman told me I made her feel less alone. I never thought I could do that for someone. I'm going to apply for a second semester. And I'm going to start a blog. If I get famous, you have to be my manager. Tell Mom. I'm not mad. I just needed space to become who I am. Tell Ethan. I love him. Tell yourself, thank you. For being my beginning. Savannah smiled and forwarded it to Lorna. Later that evening, Savannah and Ethan sat on the hood of his truck under the stars. Do you ever miss the penthouse? He asked. Sometimes, she said. But not the silence. Silence. She nodded. You can have all the marble and chandeliers in the world, but if no one knows your heart, it's still a lonely place. He pulled her close. Do you ever miss pretending? No, she said firmly. The pretending was exhausting. It made me feel like love had to be earned. He took her hand and kissed it. You don't have to earn love. You just have to recognize the real kind. She looked at him. I do now. They decided to marry again, this time publicly, truthfully, with family at their side. The town of Millersville turned out in full force. It was the event of the decade, the Billionaire Bride of Main Street. Father Paul officiated. Wade was best man. Lorna gave the toast. And when Maggie surprised them by showing up just in time, poetry journal in hand, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. At the reception, Savannah stood on the stage with a mic in hand. There was a time when I thought I had everything, she said. And then I gave it all up, and found out what everything actually means. She looked out at the crowd, her new home, her chosen family, and the man who loved her rich or poor, known or unknown. If love isn't honest, it isn't real. And if we never take the risk to reveal ourselves, we may never be truly seen. She raised a glass. To risk. To truth. To family. They all toasted. And this time, when Savannah smiled, it wasn't guarded. It wasn't hidden. It was hers. Fully. Finally. 6 months later, spring arrived like a promise in Millersville. The trees bloomed in slow, beautiful defiance of the long winter. Children played near the newly restored community center, now bustling with workshops and art shows. Inside, Maggie's poetry corner had become the most visited space. The Miller family was different now, but stronger. Wade had become a reluctant youth mentor. Lorna taught cooking classes at the center. Ethan sold his designs online and was finally gaining recognition. And Savannah? Savannah was finally living out loud. She hadn't returned to the Pierce estate in New York. Instead, she bought a modest craftsman home with a white porch and hanging ferns just outside town. She invited her father, Robert Pierce, to visit after months of silence between them. He arrived in a black town car, stepping out in a tailored coat and wariness in his eyes. Millersville, he said flatly. I never thought you'd bury yourself in a town that still sells rotary phones. Savannah smiled. Nice to see you too, Dad. Inside, she poured him tea from a chipped floral kettle. No servants. No marble countertops. Just quiet. You've changed, he said finally. I became who I was supposed to be. And what about the company? I'm not walking away, she said. I'm walking toward something better. He studied her. You're serious. She nodded. I'm giving a portion of the foundation to rebuild small towns like this. Places no one else sees. He sipped the tea. You sound like your mother. Savannah looked down. She's the one who taught me that truth matters more than legacy. Robert sighed. I thought I'd raised a titan. You did, Savannah said. I just chose to use my power differently. He set the tea down. You're still my daughter. Even if I don't understand you. That's all I ever needed, she said softly. That evening, Savannah returned to the old diner. Rita was closing up. Thought you were too rich for burgers now, Rita teased. Never, Savannah said, sliding into a booth. She looked around at the peeling linoleum, the humming neon sign in the window. It didn't feel small anymore. It felt sacred. You staying for good? Rita asked. Savannah smiled. I already stayed for the hard part. Now I'm staying for the joy. At home, Ethan was waiting on the porch. He had strung up tiny fairy lights along the banister. There was a single lantern glowing at their feet. What's all this? Savannah asked, smiling. He held out a notebook. She opened it. Inside were words written in Ethan's clean, neat print. You showed up with nothing but love, and gave us more than we knew how to receive. This is our new beginning. No lies. No tests. Just us. Taped to the inside of the back cover was a printed photo of their courthouse wedding. And beneath it, a fresh ultrasound image. Savannah gasped. You knew. He grinned. You've been avoiding caffeine and crying at commercials for 2 weeks. I was going to tell you tonight, she said. You just did. They stood on the porch, arms wrapped around each other. I want this, she whispered. So do I, he said. Every messy, honest, beautiful second of it. That night, Savannah lay in bed with Ethan beside her, his hand resting protectively over her stomach. She thought about the girl she had been, the one who had walked into Millersville scared and guarded, testing love like it was a science experiment. And now? Now she knew better. Love wasn't something to be tested. It was something to be trusted. Something to be built. And in this little house, with its creaky floorboards and chipped paint, she had everything. Not just a family. Not just a home. But a truth that had changed all of them. A year later, a new mural was unveiled on the side of the Miller Arts Collective. It showed a young woman standing between two worlds. One hand reaching toward a glittering skyline, the other toward a farmhouse with flowers blooming around it. At the bottom, a line of poetry from Maggie. She came pretending to have nothing, but gave us everything. And just below it, in fine print. Dedicated to Savannah Pierce Miller. The heart of Millersville,